Lena sat in the dimly lit room, the only sound the rustling of the wind against the window panes. The house, now silent and empty, seemed to echo the void left by her grandmother's passing. She had always known that one day she would have to face the loss, but nothing could have prepared her for the sudden weight of it, the way the world seemed to shift beneath her feet. Her grandmother had been her anchor, a constant presence of warmth and mystery. When Lena had received the call about her grandmother's death, a strange numbness had overtaken her. She hadn't been able to cry, not even at the funeral. Now, as she sifted through the small collection of personal belongings her grandmother had left behind, Lena found herself holding a single letter, its paper yellowed and fragile, as though it had been waiting for this exact moment. The handwriting was unmistakable, her grandmother's elegant scrawl, each letter seemingly infused with an old-world charm. She unfolded the paper, her heart racing as she read the first line. "For the garden awaits you under the full moon, my dear." The words seemed to vibrate in the air around her, making her breath catch in her throat. She had heard stories of a secret garden, a place her grandmother had spoken of in passing, but Lena had never truly believed it was real. Now, the letter seemed to promise something she couldn't ignore, a calling she couldn't dismiss. The letter was accompanied by a map, crudely drawn with faded ink, marking a location deep within the forest behind her grandmother's house. The moon was full tonight, just as the letter had indicated, and the words seemed to pull at her in a way that felt almost magnetic. She couldn't explain it, but a surge of anticipation filled her chest, drowning out the lingering sadness. "You will find what has been lost and remember what was never truly forgotten," the letter finished. A shiver ran down Lena's spine as she folded the letter carefully and placed it in her coat pocket, the map tucked beside it. She glanced out the window. The moonlight bathed the world in an ethereal glow, and the trees outside seemed to sway in time with an unseen rhythm. The forest, which had always felt like a boundary, now seemed like an invitation, an unspoken promise. Without another thought, Lena grabbed her coat, slipping into the cold night air, feeling an unfamiliar sense of resolve tighten around her chest. Tonight, she would follow the map. Tonight, she would uncover the mystery her grandmother had left behind. The garden. Lena's feet crunched over the frozen ground as she ventured deeper into the forest, the cold air biting at her skin, but there was a warmth within her, an electric charge that seemed to guide her every step. The moon overhead cast long shadows, and as she followed the narrow, winding path indicated on the map, the woods began to feel alive, as though they were aware of her presence. The trees towered above her, their skeletal branches reaching for the sky, but despite their dark and gnarled appearance, there was a sense of peace in the air, an otherworldly calm that settled into her bones. She had been here countless times as a child, playing in the woods during the day, but tonight, everything felt different, as if the forest itself were holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. After what felt like an eternity of walking, Lena finally saw it. A clearing ahead, bathed in the pale light of the moon. The garden was nothing like she had expected. It wasn't a typical overgrown patch of wildflowers or an abandoned plot of land. No, this place was something more, something out of time. The flowers that filled the space seemed to glow faintly, their petals shimmering as though they were made of silver, and the air was thick with a sweet, almost intoxicating fragrance. The plants rustled softly, not in the wind, but in a way that suggested they were alive, whispering to each other in a language Lena couldn't understand. Her breath caught in her throat, and she instinctively stepped closer, her heart pounding in her chest. There was something impossibly beautiful about the place, something that filled her with a sense of awe and trepidation in equal measure. As she walked deeper into the garden, Lena noticed the ground beneath her feet was soft, like moss, and the path was lined with stones, their edges worn smooth by the passage of time. She ran her fingers along one of the stones, feeling its cool surface, and it was then that she heard it. A soft voice, barely audible, as if the garden itself were speaking to her. She froze, her blood running cold for a moment, and then she heard it again, clearer this time. "You are the one. You have come." The voice was gentle, like the wind, but it carried with it a weight, a sense of ancient knowing that both unsettled and beckoned her forward. Her eyes scanned the garden, trying to locate the source of the voice, but there was no one in sight. The only movement came from the flowers, gently swaying in the breeze. And then, from the shadows of the garden, he appeared, tall, with dark hair and eyes that seemed to glow faintly in the moonlight. He was staring at her, his gaze intense but not unfriendly, as though he had been waiting for her arrival for a very long time. "I've been expecting you," he said, his voice low and rich with an unspoken weight. Lena felt a mixture of fear and fascination as she looked into his eyes. There was something familiar about him, something that tugged at the edges of her memory, but she couldn't place it. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. He didn't answer immediately, his gaze lingering on her with a strange, knowing look, as if he were deciding whether to reveal the truth. "I am Eli," he said finally, his voice like a whisper of wind through the trees. "I am the guardian of this place. And you are the one who has been chosen to understand its secrets." Lena stood there, her mind racing, trying to make sense of the words. What did he mean, the one who had been chosen? What secrets was he talking about? And why did this place feel so familiar? As if, somehow, she had always known it was here, waiting for her. The garden, the strange man, the cryptic letter, everything was starting to feel like a puzzle she didn't have the pieces to solve. But she couldn't deny the pull, the feeling deep inside her that this was where she was meant to be. The garden was no accident. She was here for a reason, and whether she was ready or not, she was about to find out why. Eli led Lena deeper into the garden, his presence both reassuring and unnerving. The night was still, but the garden seemed to hum with a quiet energy, the flowers glowing faintly and casting shadows on the ground. He walked ahead, his movements fluid, almost as though he were part of the garden itself. As they passed through a gate made of twisting vines, Lena felt a chill run down her spine, as though she had crossed into a place that was not entirely of this world. She couldn't help but follow him, drawn to him in a way she couldn't explain. "What is this place?" she asked, her voice filled with awe and confusion. Eli glanced over his shoulder at her, his expression unreadable. "This is the silent garden," he said, his voice carrying a weight that made the air feel heavier. "It is a place that exists between worlds, where time bends and memories are preserved." Lena's brow furrowed as she tried to make sense of his words. "Between worlds? What do you mean?" Eli stopped and turned to face her, his gaze searching, as if he were measuring her words before speaking. "The garden is tied to your family," he said, his voice softer now. "It was created long ago, a sanctuary for those who had been forgotten. Those who lived and loved here, their memories, their souls. They are all preserved in the garden, woven into its very being." Lena felt a strange knot in her stomach. "My family?" she repeated, disbelief creeping into her voice. "But I don't know anything about this place, about any of this." Eli's eyes softened, and for a moment, there was a sadness in his gaze, as if he knew more than he was telling. "Your grandmother knew," he said quietly. "She was the last to know the truth. And now, it is your turn to learn." A silence settled between them, thick and suffocating. Lena could feel her heart racing in her chest, the weight of the words pressing down on her. What did it all mean? What truth was he talking about? She opened her mouth to ask more questions, but Eli's eyes darkened as he stepped closer. "There are things you don't understand, things that must remain hidden," he said, his voice low and urgent. "But you are the key, Lena. You are the one who will unlock the garden's secrets." The night seemed to hold its breath as she stood before him, uncertainty and fear creeping into her thoughts. The garden was more than she had ever imagined, and so was her connection to it. The answers, it seemed, were just beyond her reach, waiting to be uncovered, but only if she was brave enough to face them. And deep down, she knew she couldn't turn back now. Whatever the truth was, it was waiting for her in the silent garden, and she was ready to discover it, even if it meant uncovering more than she was prepared to know.